Things don't just happen, you have to make them happen. The way you make them happen is to prepare for every possible outcome. One of them will be the outcome or not. Stubbornness might lead to success, but it doesn't lead to innovation. Curiosity sparks innovation. The more you're open to experiencing new things in life, the more your curiosity organically grows. Discovering who you are is the most important part to designing a happy life.
We're afraid of looking stupid, or we're afraid of failing. We're afraid of whatever.
If you do it the right way and you question the way something's done or ask for a privilege that you may not be sure you're entitled to, what's the worst that'll happen? You won't get it. Most of the time, you probably won't get it. But every time you do, you've helped yourself, you've helped the person you're working with, you may have helped the company, you may have helped the world. We are all pushing the same rock up the same hill. Don't tell me you can push it farther than I can. You might be smarter, you might be stronger, you might be more talented, and the only way we're going to get to the top is together. Whatever it is you love, think about who you are, what your purpose is in life, what you were put on this earth to do, and just follow that. And don't ever turn down a good opportunity because it isn't exactly how you see yourself, because you don't know where this is going to lead you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dreamcatcher podcast, a place where your dreams can find a voice. I'm your host, Celine Chenoy. Thank you to all of you who return every week to tune in to become a better version of yourself. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and rate our show if you enjoy this episode. Are you ready to rethink what creative leadership means? In today's episode, you'll hear from my guest, Bob Boden, an Emmy Award-nominated producer with decades of experience who knows how to turn creativity into real results. He's here to share what Hollywood's top producers and storytellers can teach you about unleashing your creative prowess and building teams to realize your vision. Bob Boden is an Emmy nominee with decades of experience in unscripted TV. He has produced, created, and consulted on over 100 shows, including game and reality hits. Bob helped launch 3 TV networks and has held top roles at CBS, ABC, Fox, GSN, and Disney. Right now, he's executive producer of Funny You Should Ask and serves as EVP of Production and Development at Allen Media Group. He's on the board of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, co-founded the National Archives of Game Show History, and once gave a TEDx talk on life lessons from game shows. If you're looking to take your career and leadership skills to the next level, you'll want to tune in to this episode to catch Bob's thoughts on how creative thinking gives you lasting edge. You'll hear stories from inside Hollywood, get tips from leading in any industry, and learn how to use creative intelligence to stand out and spark innovation when it matters most. Hi, Bob.
Hi, how are you, Celine?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me today. How
It's
are
my
you
pleasure.
doing today in this beautiful sunny day in Los Angeles?
It is a gorgeous LA day, and I'm very pleased to be here.
Yeah, I'm pleased that you're here. I'm glad that you could make it to this gorgeous spot in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. I think it's the perfect backdrop for us having this real talk about creativity and how to generate some of our best creative ideas. And I'm really excited to hear about your thoughts on what are the secrets behind the biggest creative minds and how leaders in Hollywood keep ideas flowing. I think it's going to be a very inspiring and very productive conversation.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. So I had really enjoyed reading your book, Creative Leadership, which you co-authored with Dr. Rob Carpenter, who unfortunately could not join us because he is unwell. So
Yes.
shout out to Rob. We're
Yes.
missing you.
It's just COVID. It's nothing serious. He'll be fine by tomorrow, I'm sure.
I hope so too. Yes, I was really looking forward to including him in the conversation, but that's fine. We have you here.
Thank you.
And there's just so much to unpack in this book. There's just so many gems of wisdom in it. But I want to start out by getting to know you a little bit better and more about your career and what got you to this point. So you've been called a leader in game and reality TV. What first sparked your interest in this genre?
Well, I can pinpoint the birth of my passion for what I do almost to a day. I was a child in New York, grew up in New York, and just for fun, I would go into Manhattan with my mom, and we would go pick up tickets for different TV shows. And I was in kindergarten, 5 years old, and I picked up a ticket, and I was just learning to read, and I read the back of the ticket, and it said, persons under the age of 6 are not admitted. It was a show called Password, which is a legendary game show. It's actually taping next week again, all these years later. And I said to my mom, when I turn 6, can we go see Password? And she said, okay. And so when I turned 6, she took me to Password. Now, I had a black and white TV at home, okay? Very tiny little black and white TV. And Password wasn't even in color yet. And so my experience with TV was all black and white. I had no real knowledge of what a TV studio looked like. And so we went to Password, and I am now completely blown away by the color, the lights, the sounds, the shared experience that these people are having, listening and watching this show that I had only seen at home in black and white. And it's right there in front of me. We're in the balcony of what is now called the Ed Sullivan Theater in New York on Broadway. And because the balcony jutted out in front of the stage a bit, you couldn't really see the full stage. So they put up this enormous monitor in the balcony. It was probably not as enormous as I think it was, because I was little, but it was like a jumbotron, so that you could see what was going on. So now here I am watching this unbelievably huge TV in color, and I'm in a studio watching a show that I would watch at home. And the light went on for me that day. And I said to my mom, I want to do this when I grow up. I didn't know what this meant. I didn't know anything about working in game shows, but I knew I loved them. And there was no turning back. From that point forward, I became fixated on game shows. And in those days, there were quite a few game shows that were being taped in New York. So my regular routine in the summer when I wasn't in school would be to go on the subway to Manhattan and go to game shows, dozens of them. And as I got older and went through grade school and then junior high and then high school, the game shows started to move out to LA. This was in the mid-'70s. And so as I'm finishing up high school and trying to figure out where I want to go to college, I thought, if I really am serious about this, I've got to go where the game shows are going. So I applied to UCLA. A funny story, I think. I went to my high school college counselor, and he said, where do you want to go to college? Do you want to go to Queens College, which was down the street from my high school, or State University of New York? I said, I want to go to UCLA. And he looked at me like I was a Martian. He said, where is that?
Okay.
And I said, LA, Los Angeles, California. And he said, oh, I never heard of that school. Because every kid in my high school went down the street to Queens College or to SUNY or to CUNY, which was the City University of New York. And occasionally they would go to another East Coast school, but never UCLA. So he said, okay, well, let me find out about this UCLA, and I'll come back to you. And a week later, he calls me in his office, and he hands me a huge envelope of information from USC. I said, no, it's not USC, it's UCLA. He said, oh, it's a different school? I said, okay, I'm going to handle this myself, thank you. And I went out and I found all the information, I applied, I was accepted. I came out to LA at 18, got on a plane, didn't know a soul in California, but I had this dream in my suitcase. And all I ever really wanted to do was work in game shows and be a part of that world because it was so magical to me. And so I got through school, and in my sophomore year, there was a taping of a live talk show that was taking place on the campus in the Theater Arts Building, and I signed up to be in the audience. And the premise of this episode, it was a short-lived TV talk show called America Alive. Very few people have heard of it. But this one episode was shot in LA. The base for the show was New York, but they came out to LA for this one episode where Lucille Ball, the famous Lucille Ball, was on a stage answering questions from UCLA theater arts students. That was the whole hour, and it was live on NBC. So I prepared a question, and I rehearsed it in the mirror, and I wanted to meet Lucille Ball. I wanted to ask her a question. They call on me. I asked my question. I asked her why she had never done a variety show. She answered my question, and then she engaged me in a conversation, which I wasn't ready for. And she said, well, what do you want to do?
Wow.
And I wasn't prepared for that, so I said what a 19-year-old says. I said, well, anything I can get. And she scolded me on live TV. She said, don't say anything you can get because they'll hand you a broom. And you got to learn what you can do. And I continued. I held up my head. I didn't crumble under the pressure of talking to this icon on live TV. And after the show, the man who was doing the cue cards for Lucille Ball, who happened to be the man who invented cue cards, his name was Barney McNulty, he came up to me and he said, I really liked your question, and I've got some work for you.
Wow.
And that's how I got my first job in television, was by asking a question to Lucille Ball. And the next day, I was working in television at Television City, this dream factory that I had watched on TV as a kid. And here I am with a pass to get into TV City. And I'm working on a special with George Burns, another classic comic. And that's where it all started. And I got to work on dozens and dozens of shows while I was still in college. I didn't have a car. I took the bus from UCLA to usually to NBC in Burbank or to CBS Television City, which, if you know the geography of LA, that's not easy. But this passion was it overtook me, and I couldn't get enough of it. Graduated from UCLA, and then I started to apply for production assistant jobs and got to move my way up. I went to tapings of shows just like I did in high school every week. Got to meet people, establish myself in that world, and eventually I landed in it.
Wow, what an extraordinary story, and it's so inspiring. It really goes to show that having passion and being super engaged in whatever you have an interest in from early on is so essential in mastering a skill and really getting into a certain industry, in this case the entertainment field, which is not easy. It's really not easy. There's so much competition. I hear I see this pattern in so many stories of people who have made it big. Like, for instance, Walt Disney, he said that he tried to somehow get into the studio, even if he's like a sweeper or something. Like, he just said he wanted to be in those environments and just be exposed to that world. And somehow through osmosis, he gets a sense of what it's like to work there. And you get noticed. I think your story can teach us so much about the importance of passion, of having a vision that you really believe in. So thank you for sharing that.
And also preparation.
And preparation,
okay.
Of course.
I mean, I teach college students along with Dr. Rob for Syracuse University. We're in the LA program. And a lot of them talk about, gosh, I wish I could get a lucky break. And arguably, I got a lucky break. I was in the right room at the right time when somebody was looking for somebody to hold cue cards the next day. But I also prepared for that lucky break.
Right. Yeah.
And I rehearsed that question so many times.
So many times. Yeah. That's an essential piece.
I didn't know it would lead to a job.
But you were driven. You were passionate about it. And I think that was the fuel that made you prepare and made you go for it.
Yeah.
Because without that passion to fuel you, you wouldn't be bothered to take all that trouble and to put yourself, in the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So preparation is the key, and that is one of the running themes in our book.
Yeah.
Is things don't just happen; you have to make them happen.
Absolutely.
And the way you make them happen is to prepare for every possible outcome, and one of them will be the outcome or not, and then you have to pivot to a new outcome.
Absolutely.
But you always have to be prepared. You have to be in front of every obstacle and every problem that might arise.
What's your preparation process like?
Well, I'm very heavily into research. And if I am given a task as simple as I'm going to a meeting, okay? I'm not interviewing for jobs now because I have a wonderful job, but when I interviewed for jobs, I would study up on the people I was meeting with, the company that I was going to, for hours and hours and hours. I mean, it was a rabbit hole that I created for myself because I had to know every show that they produced, who the principal people were, what the background was of the person I was meeting. What I say to my students is, I said, you have so many tools today to prepare for an interview or a meeting that I didn't have. We didn't have Google when I was, getting into the business or going out on job interviews. And I said, you can find out the blood type of the person's dog. I mean, you should know everything there is to know about that person.
There's just no excuse, right?
No. And so when I interview people, and I work on a wonderful game show called Funny You Should Ask. And the first question I normally ask is, have you seen our show? Well, if they say no, the interview's over, okay? If you haven't even taken the moment, okay, and it's on TV, okay, it's not hard to find. If you haven't taken the moment to spend, 20 minutes to watch one episode of our show, then why am I bothering to spend 20 minutes with you? Now, there's a half answer that happens a lot today, which is I've seen clips, okay? Because nobody watches full shows anymore. And I'll accept that. That's okay. But if you haven't made any effort to look up our title, find our show, know what it's about, I don't want to spend time with you. It's like, why do I think I can believe in you as an employee? And others in the book have talked about that too, and how they'll test people when they come in for an interview, and they'll also ask, what do you want to know from me? And that's a very telling sign also in a communication at an interview, and that is also part of the preparation. It's what are you curious about?
Yeah.
Curiosity is a word that's going to come up many, many more times in our talk, because that's another running theme of our book, is you need to be curious about life, about the world, not just your little niche of it, but how things work. And many of these successful people who we've talked to, they've focused on their careers and their jobs and their media, but they are also worldly in many ways and have other passions, other interests, and everything I mean, I consider myself a lifelong learner, and I'm sure many of your guests share that. Anything that you know from any context helps you be better at your work, better in your life, better in your relationships. Everything that you learn, I think, makes you a better person.
Yeah.
And so anyone who has the attitude of, oh, I don't need to know that, I don't need to know them.
Yeah. It's like a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset.
Yes, and that is one of the obstacles, one of the major obstacles in building leadership is thinking there's only one way to do something. And there's 1,000 ways to do something, and you have to adapt the solution to the problem, and you have to be able to pivot if the standard solution, if the way that everyone's done it up till now doesn't work.
Yeah.
And one of the frustrations I've had in the corporate world is that mindset of this is the way we do things.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the way we've always do things. Now, not to say you can't learn from the past, okay? And I think it's important, again, to research the past, know how things have worked. When I talk to my students about developing ideas, I say, study the target networks that you're thinking about and know every show that's worked and hasn't worked for them. And you'll learn just as much from the shows that have failed as the ones that have succeeded. And, failure is the best teacher. It's to do better. Sometimes you have to do worse, and then you correct it, and your better is probably better than you were originally going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Curiosity is such an essential trait in a person who wants to really, blaze a trail in whatever field that they're in. But Bob, do you think curiosity can be cultivated, or is it something that's innate? Because I have met some people who, are naturally just closed off to ideas or learning new things. And it could be because of their upbringing. Maybe they were raised in a culture or in a place, or maybe they were working in a field where it's important to stick to the rules. Like, for instance, the army, right? You got to stick with certain protocols. So is curiosity something that can be cultivated? And if yes, how?
Well, stubbornness might lead to success in certain areas of the world, in certain industries, and in certain parts of your life. But it doesn't lead to innovation. And I think the greatest leaders have been those who have been open to innovation, who have cherished innovation, and curiosity sparks innovation. So are you born with curiosity? I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a genealogist. I can't swear to you that there's a level of curiosity that people are born with. But I absolutely believe that you can cultivate it. And I think the more you're open to experiencing new things in life, the more your curiosity organically grows. And I don't think it's something you can study. I don't think there's a course in building your curiosity. I think it's life experience. Right. But those who say, this is the box that I live in, and this is the house that I live in, and this is the job that I have, and this is where I go to school, or I go to work, or I go to the movies, or whatever I do, they're missing out on the rest of the world. And you don't have to be wealthy, you don't have to be privileged to explore the world. The world is all around you. And the more that you explore it and you look around you, you go, I wonder why, ellipsis, then you'll be on the road to finding out the answer to that question.
And do you think it's important to find community and people who share the curiosity with you? Because that's something that can influence you as well.
Yes. Well, one of the things that Dr. Rob and I have peppered throughout our book is what we call people intelligence. And there's intellectual intelligence, what you learn in school. In my world, there's trivia intelligence, which are the facts that may be beyond, the norm that you would learn in an educational environment, but they're important to know if you're going to win on Jeopardy or something like that. Yeah. There's emotional intelligence, okay? That's knowing how to react to certain situations based on all of the factors that exist. So, okay, if there's a fire in your living room, put out the fire. Pretty simple. Well, what do I use to put it out with? What kind of fire is it? Is it an electrical fire? Is it a wood fire? There's different ways to put out different fires. So I have to think about what is the creative way to tap into my intellectual core, and that will allow me to make informed decisions. Now, people intelligence is a step beyond that. People intelligence is about knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the people in your circle, and knowing that this person in my orbit is particularly good at this task or this project. This person's a little weaker in that. Playing to strengths, bypassing weaknesses, fostering collaboration between people so that you're not just always relying on the same people to do things, the same things, but cross-training them so that they can learn from each other and ultimately build a stronger unit, a stronger department, a stronger division, a stronger company. And I believe very strongly, and pretty much everybody we interviewed in our book believes, that supporting those who work for you, who report to you, is the most important relationship you can have in the workplace, because it pays back dividends, not just to the company and the greater good and profits, if that's what you're about, but also to you personally. It's so rewarding to work in an environment where you respect the people who work for you and they respect you back. And I believe that that makes them work harder, not just to complete the tasks, but to support you and make you succeed. And then it pays forward again. Yeah. And the more my team helps me, the more I'm going to advocate for them and get them raises and promotions and privileges. And it's all because, not because they're sucking up or they're trying to impress me, and nothing against that, by the way. I do a lot of it. Great outfit, by the way.
Thank you.
But it's about a shared experience, not unlike what I saw when I was 6 contestants and celebrities working together on a game show. And if I give you a great clue, you're going to give me the right answer. And if I give you a terrible clue, you're not going to understand it. And so I support you, you support me. I know that sounds very basic, and maybe it only makes sense to me. But
it's a win-win situation.
But I worked for a company one time where I was fired a year into my job, and it was a dream job. It was a job that I had worked my whole life to get, and I got it, and it was going well, and then it started to fall apart. And ultimately, I got fired, and I asked my boss what I did wrong. Why did this happen? And his first answer is, I'm not obligated to tell you. That tells you the environment I'm living in, okay? Finally, I got it out of him. And he said that the company, meaning his boss, didn't like my management style. And I said, why? What? My team is happy. I'm happy. We work hard. We deliver the product. He said, that's not the way you manage. The way you manage is you cause intimidation.
So the autocratic
absolutely
style.
And unless your team is afraid of you, they're not going to perform at their highest. And I said, show me the door. I said, I can't live in this environment. I will not mistreat my staff. I will not compromise my mission to create the best product, emphasis on the create, by sparking trust and admiration and an open forum to communicate. And if you close those doors, I don't think you get creativity.
Yeah, it doesn't flourish in those environments, right?
Absolutely. And so the intersection of creativity and leadership, you know, there's a school of thought that leaders need to be very structured. The MBA mentality.
Yes.
Okay, I never got an MBA. I don't want one. This is the way companies work. This is how all the pieces fit together. This is the org chart. This is the method of gaining success and profitability. And the opposite of that is wild creativity. Who cares about the rules? Let's just do what we want, spend what we want, just be crazy and wild. Well, this book and the people who we interviewed for this book have found that middle ground.
Yes.
And structure doesn't inhibit them, it enables them. It enables them to feed creativity into an existing structure and not to ignore budgets and timelines and deadlines and all the things that are absolutely critical in the corporate world and even in the arts and entertainment world. Yeah. But it allows for people to be their best self. It allows for people to discover their strengths, to try out new ideas, to innovate, and ultimately to be passionate. And it all comes back to passion for me.
It does. How do we find that sweet spot between, the structure and the regiment and creativity and just allowing our ideas to, just flourish and not inhibit it or limit the ideas that we generate within us? How do we find that sweet spot?
I think there's a lot of trial and error.
Okay.
And I think when you assemble a team, it takes you a while to recognize their strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Some people believe that whoever they trust to work with, they should take with them wherever they go. And I've done some of that. I have taken people from one job to another job because I believe in them and I have faith in their ability to elevate what we do. And in other instances, you want to try new people. And I think the people intelligence that I spoke of is all about adapting the projects at hand, the mission of the company, your own personal belief in how something should be done, which can change and should change, to the level of competence and accomplishment of the people around you. So on day one, when you're starting a new job or you're hiring a new team, you're not going to have that balance exactly right yet. I think it takes some trial and error, some time, some curve. Experimentation, and I might throw a project at somebody that maybe I don't have full confidence that they're going to complete successfully, but I want them to stretch their abilities. They might fail at it. Okay, I made a mistake. I should have given it to somebody else, or I shouldn't have had faith in them, or maybe I should have prepped them better, trained them better, or maybe they should have done a little more research on their own. Yeah. Any of those can lead to, to disappointment. But in more instances than not, when I've done that, the people I've experimented with have not only completed what needed to be done, but elevated it, but made it better than I could have imagined it and better than I could have done myself. And, they prop me up while I prop them up.
That's great.
Yeah.
How do you help them stay motivated, and how do you stay motivated whenever your creative ideas fall flat and they just kind of fail? What do you do? What is your process?
Well, food goes a long way. And one of the wonderful people we interviewed in our book, Alison Grodner, who is the showrunner on Big Brother, she talks about this, and she and I are kindred spirits, because she believes that if you keep people fed, that they will perform better. Now, Big Brother is a 24/7 kind of show, okay? They are literally filming 24/7 for months.
Oh, that sounds grueling.
It is, but there's a wonderful catering trailer. And anyone who works there can go get something to eat any time of day or night whenever they feel a need for it. And they're not crazy about take-home containers, but that's a different story. Keeping people fed, keeping people happy, I think is a major element in workplace satisfaction. And we're living in a world, especially in entertainment right now, where there's a lot of cutbacks. And one of the things that's first to go is the break room, and many companies have cut that out altogether, or made compromises, or the worst yet, having a vending machine. Okay, in the workplace. Those bags of chips that you used to get for free on the counter?
Yes.
Now you have to pay $2 for it?
Okay.
No. Not a company I want to work with. And it's not really just about the bargain. It's about the feeling that the company cares about you. And I really believe that it's a great motivator. You may not get that answer from anybody else, but that's my answer.
Not what I was expecting.
Yep.
But for someone who's not motivated by food and snacks like myself, is there something you say to them to kind of negate the negative self-talk that might creep in when they feel like they're not doing a good job, or for some reason they didn't feel like their idea is really stuck? Like, is there anything else that you do?
Well, imposter syndrome is a nasty thing. I get it every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. A lot of ups and downs in your career.
Of course. I mean, I think it's human nature to doubt yourself. I think it's human nature to question your abilities. I think it's human nature to be nervous or afraid about completing a task, or making your boss happy, or advancing the company's business. And I'm keenly aware of that. And it hits me every once in a while, too. So when I sense that somebody who I work with, whether it's a coworker or a subordinate, and in some cases even a boss, I really try to establish a trust and a camaraderie with them, that they can come to me with any kind of problem that relates to the workplace, even if it's, I don't feel good today, and I'm not going to give them a medical diagnosis, but I want to dig into what's causing you not to feel good. Is it anxiety about the project that you're doing? Are you taking on too much? Are you having problems in other parts of your life that are impacting your work performance? I want people to feel comfortable that they can share that with me and communicate with me, and I'll share back. And I might say, you know what, I'm not having a great day either. And it could be a personal thing, it could be a business thing. I mean, if it happens every day, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But we're human, and I really try to take the time to understand people's ups and downs. I really try not to overly pressure them with projects and deadlines. And I really want them to say to me, that's going to take longer than you think, or that's something I don't think I can accomplish the way you want it. I worked for a boss one time. I was in a job doing ratings research for a big company, and I had a boss who loved to give me spreadsheets. Before there were spreadsheets, there were charts. Okay,
with I remember those days.
Okay,
yeah.
It was a pad with lines on it, and he said, "I want you to fill in these columns and report back to me and give me some conclusions about what all these numbers meant." He'd hand me a book with 5 million numbers in it and say, "Find the 30 that we need." And as he was telling me this, the way he was describing it didn't make sense to me. I mean, he was senior to me. He'd been in this business a lot longer than I had. But there was something about it that just didn't sit well with me. And I was afraid to say, are you sure that's the right approach to this? Or maybe we should try it this way. Because I was a kid. I was junior, and I didn't want to question my boss, and I didn't know how he'd react to it and whatever. And I didn't say anything, and I went off and did the project exactly the way he told me to, and I brought it back to him, and he said, this really doesn't make any sense. This isn't what I was hoping for. And I said, well, I'm really sorry. I tried, but I did it exactly the way you told me to do it. And he said, I'm going to clean this up. Why the heck, it wasn't heck, did you listen to me? Well, I don't know how to answer that. I listen to you because you're my boss and because I'm here to follow directions. And I said, so what if we tried it this way? Because now he's giving me permission to share my view. And I said, what about this way instead? And he said, that's the way we should have done it. And I went back and did it the way I wanted to do it, but I was afraid. And what our interviewees talk about in this book is don't be afraid of that. Okay? Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to have a different perspective. Don't be afraid to reimagine something. It isn't always the same. It can be different and it can be better. Now, we're not saying, call your boss names in front of them or behind their back. That's pretty dumb.
Yeah, I mean, there still are power dynamics that you need to be aware of.
Absolutely. And look, we've all worked for people who we don't completely admire or respect. Mm-hmm. And we've worked for people who are so supportive and nurturing and, I can name those people. I won't name the other people. But stand up when it's important to stand up in a politically smart way, okay, and know the dynamics of the office and the company, and just
yeah, your spidey sense has to pick up on everything.
I mean, we're in a world of a lot of turmoil, and it's very easy to offend people today, and you just don't know. You say good morning, and they say, "What do you mean by that?" It's just, it can be difficult, especially in the workplace today. Yes. But that shouldn't kill innovation. It shouldn't kill advancement of ideas. It absolutely should not kill creativity.
Yeah, I hear a lot of comedians having a problem with this, having to navigate this whole challenge of not offending anybody, and they have to rewrite their jokes now. I mean, some of them just don't care. Like, I recently watched Brad Garrett. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, sure.
And he was unleashed. He didn't care. He offended a lot of people. Well, and I was like, he just doesn't care. Maybe he's just, he's a baby boomer, and he just,
That doesn't give you an excuse not to care. I'm a baby boomer, and I care. I don't want to offend people.
That was my assumption, right? I could be wrong.
And I work peripherally in the comedy world, okay? Because I produce a comedy game show.
Yeah.
And I don't get involved as much in the comedy as I do in the game, because that's not my calling. That's not my strength. There are other people who are far better at that. Byron Allen, who's my boss, is an experienced comic and has been for decades. So, I don't try to have an opinion about what's funny, and arguably what's funny is subjective anyway.
Sure.
But I'm not going to challenge, a long-standing comedian as to what's funny. So I stay in my lane. I do all of the game-related stuff on our show, but it is a comedy game show. And I have witnessed exactly what you're talking about, and I have seen comics who had to adjust their material. I was talking to a comic a few days ago who travels the country and goes to a variety of different colors of states. And I said, do you do different material in red states and blue states? And he said, absolutely. I have to adjust what I say and what I'm comfortable with and what I'm going to take a chance on, based on the culture of where I'm telling jokes. And I think it has been a challenge to the comedy business.
Yeah.
I think, anybody who is too far in one direction or the other is opening themselves up to a much higher level of criticism than ever, just because of the world we're in. So it's best to stay decidedly in the middle. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be dead center.
Yeah.
You can have an opinion, and
Sure.
you can find humor on both sides of the aisle. But you do have to be more careful than ever about that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is having that situational awareness and knowing the context in which you're working is an important component to your creative ideas, to generating your creative ideas.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it goes back to knowing who you are and knowing who the people around you are. Mm. And one of the management principles I firmly believe in is learning how to manage up and down. Managing down is pretty intuitive, okay? There's people who report to you, and their work is judged by you, and your work is partly judged by what they deliver to you. So managing your team, whether it's one person or 100 people or more, is a standard business acumen. But knowing how to manage up and understanding what your boss needs, understanding what your boss means, because what they say isn't always what they mean. And it's not that they're trying to trick you, it's just that they have a communication style that you need to adapt to because you report to that person. But managing them in many instances means finding ways to carefully, delicately challenge their ideas, their thoughts, their assignments. And in most cases, that will engender confidence. It will have the boss realize that you're a team player, that you have an opinion, you have a point of view, you have the V word, a vision. Mm-hmm. Vision is so important. It's not just how do we make it till 5 o'clock, okay? It's about why are we here? What are we trying to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Simon Sinek, know your why.
Yes. And, companies have mission statements. Some people put mission statements on their resume. This is who I am. But why, I don't want to get existential about this, but why was I put on this earth?
Oh, you can.
Okay.
You can go there on this podcast.
But I don't usually think that broadly or I love to give away refrigerators. Okay. I mean, that's what I was put on this earth to do. And I believe that there's a reason that people are where they are doing what they do. I believe that everyone has superpowers. I believe that discovering who you are is the most important part to designing a happy life, both in your work life and your home life. And not trying to be somebody you're not. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have goals and you shouldn't reach. One of the wonderful people we interviewed for our book, Arthur Smith, wrote a book about reach. His book is called Reach. And it's about, here's what you've accomplished in life, but can you do more? Can you reach? Can you get higher? Can you get better? Arthur Smith, who is a brilliant creator, producer of non-scripted television, reality television, believes in reaching, always reaching, not just accomplishing what you think you're capable of, but reaching to that higher level, to that next step up. And I read his book, and it inspired me so much that when Dr. Rob and I decided on who we wanted to interview for our book, he was the first name that I came up with because I knew that he had already invested in inspirational readings, and I wanted him to be a part of my book. And I wasn't sure he would do it because he'd already done his book, but he was so gracious and so giving to share his thoughts about management, creativity, leadership to our book.
I love that. I'd love to dig into the whole concept of reach and how it inspired you in your own work.
Well, you need to interview Arthur Smith because he can speak for this for hours.
Yeah, but through the lens of your own life, your career.
I believe I've always, that Arthur would be proud of me, that I've always tried to reach beyond what my job required. If I was in a job that didn't infuse a lot of creativity, I still tried to be creative. A way that I got my first corporate job, it was in research. It was for Paramount Studios. And I had worked as an intern in the research department at CBS, Television City, my favorite building in the world. And I had a little experience, 3 months, not much. And in network ratings research, it's a very kind of narrow field. You basically report numbers and do some analysis. In the research job I was applying for, it was a broader scope. It was syndication research, which is 200 plus markets in the country, and creating sales presentations and decks and things that would sell syndicated shows. So it was a lot more of a reach of numbers manipulation, if you will, for sales purposes. So I applied for this job, and the guy I interviewed with handed me a book with, it was probably 300 pages, all numbers, okay? 500 numbers on a page. And he said, I want you to write a sales report on the Brady Bunch that we can use to sell the show in syndication. Now, I knew the Brady Bunch. Yes. I loved that show. But I'd never analyzed it.
All the classics.
Right? But I'd never analyzed it with numbers, thousands of numbers. So I didn't quite know what I was doing. But I wrote up a report. I tried to analyze the numbers as best I could, but I peppered it with creative things about the Bradys. And I mentioned the kids' names, and I think I even referenced some adventures that they might have had in episodes. And wherever I wasn't adept at analysis, I at least tried to be entertaining in this document. And my boss, I handed it to him, my boss, to be, giving away the punchline, read it, and he said, very clever, we can work with you, we can teach you how to do this. Now, had I just shown my talent at analyzing numbers, I don't think I would have gotten the job because I didn't have any talent at analyzing numbers. Maybe a little smidge of talent. But what I did was I took the numbers and I put it into a context to show that I was passionate about it, that I was willing to learn, that I had some handle, some clue about what I was doing, but the rest of it was an open field. And I invited this man to teach me, and he took the invitation. So that was a reach for a 23-year-old kid who was not a mathematician and had some faculty with numbers, but not an expert. And I grew into somebody who could analyze ratings with maybe not the top people, but certainly at a respectable level. And that prepared me, believe it or not, for so much of my creative career that came after that, because that wasn't a very creative job. But I ultimately went back to CBS, replacing the boss I had as an intern. And now I'm at CBS doing research, and what's downstairs from my office is The Price is Right.
Oh.
And Pyramid. And all these game shows. And now suddenly I'm doing a job that I had been trained to do and was getting better at it, but I'm in the magic factory. I'm in this place where I could go downstairs anytime I want and sit in the back of the house and watch a game show being made. Mm-hmm. And since I was 6, that's all I really ever wanted to do. So I worked my way in CBS to get in their management training program. And that was a reach also. The reach there was they were taking applications for this 1-year management training program where the participants would spend a week to a month in different departments, and at the end of the year, upon success, be able to choose an area to work in, and they would create a job for you, okay? Mm-hmm. This stuff doesn't exist anymore. There's no jobs being created. Mm-mm. I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to go into daytime, which is where the game shows were. So I threw the application in the trash because I said they're never going to pick me. And my next door neighbor at work said, take that out of the trash and apply. 400 people in the company applied for it. And I get word a few weeks later that I'm in the top 60. It's like, it's still a pretty long odds,
yeah, I know.
Right?
You're right.
Then I get word that I'm in the top 12. Now I'm thinking, there's a chance. Well, one of the judges, when I got down to the top 3, we met with 6 different executives, I believe, in different disciplines at the network. One of the executives, who was the head of daytime, who was the gentleman who I wanted to work for, his name is Michael Brockman. He's still around. Wonderful man. He knew my passion for daytime, for game shows. And as one of the judges in this panel, after they interviewed the 3 finalists and they had to pick one, he told me the story 20 years later. Mm-hmm. He said that 5 of the 6 judges in the room said, you don't need to give Bob this job because he's going to work his way into being an executive in daytime anyway. He's already working in the building in research. He's downstairs all the time watching Pyramid. We don't need to give them this break to him. He'll find his own way. And Michael said to them, why are we punishing him because he's passionate? Why are we taking away an opportunity from somebody to move directly into the world that they want to live in and that they have a talent for, and not allowing him to live out that passion and convince the other 5 people to pick me? And they did. So for a year, I got to travel every road at CBS, and I worked in every area. And even though I knew what I wanted to do, that was the most valuable year of my entire career up till now. That was over 40 years ago. But I learned about movies. I learned about sitcoms. I learned about drama. I learned about sports. I learned about news. I learned about all of the technical aspects that went into getting television shows on the air. And after I came out of that program and they said, what do you want to do? I said, well, duh, you know what I want to do. I want to work for Michael and I want to do daytime. And they expected that. I was so much better at that job because they allowed me to reach and learn about every job. And I think one of the difficulties of today's management structure in entertainment is that many people start off as an assistant and work their way up the ladder, or they start as a PA, a production assistant, and work their way up the ladder. But they don't learn about everything outside of the little tent that they grow up in. And often you'll have a creative executive with a small c who doesn't really understand how shows are made.
Yeah.
Because all they did was answer the phone, set up travel, bring in lunch, which is important. And they never learned, how do you make television?
Yeah.
So when I would come in later on in my career and pitch these people who were smart and motivated and talented and all that stuff, but did they reach outside of their world? No. They just did. They followed the path.
Yeah.
And one thing we talk about in our book a lot is there's not just one path. And because I had learned everything there was to learn, and I was lucky enough to be exposed to all that, and then someone makes a comment to me about my creative idea or doesn't like it or whatever, it really hurts me because I know they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I know they're wrong not because I'm smarter than they am or whatever. It's because they don't have the worldliness, the experience, the perspective that I was lucky enough to get.
Yeah.
And no one ever allowed them to reach, and they didn't have the fortitude to reach on their own.
Right.
Bless you, Arthur Smith, for teaching all this to me in your book, really, because I knew all this, but I never thought of it the way I do now.
Right.
And it's because of his book that now I really put it into that overall concept of reaching.
Yeah.
So when I pitch an idea to somebody, I don't care how old or young they are. It's not about they're too young or they're dumb or what. It's not about that. It's about that they've never either been able to or chose to learn about the bigger picture and understand that what I'm talking about may not fit into the box that they've been taught to live in. But if you think, I know it's a trope now, but think outside the box, right? Build a bigger box. Forget the box is ever there.
Yes.
Okay? Then you can just start to discover and imagine new creative ideas and ultimately turn that into leadership.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the upcoming launch of my new book titled The Nomadic Soul, a seeker's guide to finding a sense of self and belonging in the modern world, which highlights a profound yet often unexplored part of your identity that holds the key to everything from answering your biggest questions to finding deeper meaning and joy in everyday life. Visit thenomadicsoulbook.com to learn more, download a free chapter, or to buy a copy.
What is the role of confidence and self-belief in all of this? Because in order to reach and really get outside your comfort zone, so to speak, you do need to believe in yourself. And that is a through line I'm seeing in your story. You did not care. You just put yourself out there and you were willing to take a risk. That's something that you have to work on inside, because a lot of people who are listening, they're like, well, we're afraid of looking stupid, or we're afraid of failing, we're afraid of whatever, XYZ. So what do you have to say to people like that who are afraid of falling flat on their face?
Well, it's a big component of what I teach to my college students, and I'm sure it is for Dr. Rob as well. Many of my students are too cautious and too concerned that they're going to upset somebody, that they're going to cause someone to rethink what they might be thinking. They don't want to challenge authority. And I'll say to them, if you do it the right way and you question the way something's done, or ask for a privilege that you may not be sure you're entitled to, what's the worst that'll happen? You won't get it. And most of the time, you probably won't get it. But every time you do, you've helped yourself, you've helped the person you're working with, you may have helped the company, you may have helped the world. I mean, holding back, unless you do it wrongly, I don't think is the way to achieve advancement and success. I think you have to believe in your ideas, not to the extent that you're going to, have a creative argument with somebody who doesn't agree with you or doesn't like your idea. Okay, it's an idea. It's subjective. Okay,
Yeah.
I love it. You don't love it. I pitched a show one time, and I had talent with me. It was a talent-driven show, reality show, and 5 minutes into the pitch, the guy I was pitching to at a broadcast network, he said, "I need to stop you. We would never do this show here." Okay? Now, was he being honest and forthright and saving the time I was probably wasting from his day? Yes. Mm-hmm. Did he have the right to react that way? Absolutely. That's his job. Did he have to say it that way? No.
He sounds like Simon Cowell.
Old Simon Cowell.
Old Simon Cowell.
New Simon Cowell's a lot gentler.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting next to the talent, and I'm now embarrassed. I'm devastated, and I left because he told me to leave, basically. And outside the door, I spoke to the talent, and I said, "I'm so sorry. I feel horrible. I'm sorry I ever got you involved in this project. We should just let it go." She said, "No." She said, "I'm cleaning this up for the room. To heck with him." Okay, it wasn't heck. Let's go sell this somewhere else. He's not good enough to buy this show. Okay. And I had another boss who I work with at a company, and he interrupted somebody's pitch just like that, even worse than that. And I was part of his team, and I was in the room taking notes on this pitch, and he stopped this guy a few minutes in. He says, I'm sorry, I have to stop you. This is one of the worst ideas I've ever heard. I go, whoa. How do you talk to somebody? How do you talk to anybody like that? Nonetheless, in a perceived creative environment at a major studio, and the guy he just fell apart. And he left in shame, and I think, I know I said something to my boss. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I probably said something along the lines of, maybe that was a little harsh. It was a little over the top. And he says, "Well, you got to be honest with people." So fast forward, okay, there's a reason I'm telling you this. A few months later, this guy, my boss, gets fired. Not sure exactly why. But let's just say he hadn't made a lot of friends in Hollywood. And he had been a bully to many, many, many people. Not as bad as what he said to that one guy that day. But I had overheard some of his phone conversations. He was in the office next to me. And he was rude, he was demanding, he was dismissive. He really couldn't care less about his relationships. And if anybody knows anything about this town, it's all about relationships.
Right.
And you could be great at your work and you could be horrible at your work. But if you have strong relationships, you have a much better chance of having a career in Hollywood than if you don't care about that. And he didn't care about that.
Yeah.
So
empathy, right? You need a certain degree of empathy when you're...
None. He had none.
He had none, clearly.
So
yeah.
He gets fired.
Yeah.
And it's his last day. It's Friday. And it's like 5:30. And he's like sending out memos and typing. And I'm like, you're going to work here another half hour. And he's like, oh, I got to get this done. I got to send it. I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, come here. And he closed the door and he said, I got to ask you a question. Everybody in this town seems to like you. And even though you're a junior guy, you have a great reputation and people want to work with you. And I don't feel the same about me. I don't feel people like me. What did I do wrong?
Wow.
Okay. So he's asking me for therapy.
And he's older than you?
About 10 years older.
10 years.
Not
considered.
much. He was in, I think I was, I'm not going to give the year because then people know where I'm talking about. I was in my early 30s. So he was about 40, young 40s.
Okay.
45 maybe at the most. He said, what did I do wrong? I said, this is 5:30 on a Friday on his last day. I said, you never nurtured your relationships. You took them for granted, and you thought the chair you sat in defined you. And it's not you that had the power that you thought you had. It's the chair you sat in. And on Monday, somebody else is going to sit in that chair, and they're going to have that power that you abused. And you know what's at stake for me? He can't fire me in in his last half hour, so I let him have it.
Well, he asked you.
He asked me, and I was as gentle as I could be, but I was so upset that he had destroyed his career, and he had to leave town. He couldn't get anybody to return his phone call because he was rude to people.
Yeah.
And left town and hasn't come back.
Do you know what he's doing now?
He's found other industry-related jobs.
Okay.
I don't want to give too many clues.
No, that's fine. Just want to know.
But
an update.
he knows who he is.
Okay.
But that moment, and you know, I never talked that way to a boss ever, but he did invite me to, and it was a lesson for me. It was a reminder that it's the chair, it's not you. And I've dealt with situations where I've had big jobs, and then I lost the big job, and people stopped returning my calls. I got fired once. I'll tell you one quickie, and then I know you have a great follow-up.
Yeah.
I got fired once, and I was in my car driving home after packing my stuff, and I called up one of the producers I had been developing a project with, and I got him on the phone. Very hard guy to get on the phone, but I was in development on a project with him, and I said, you know, how's it going? He says, great. He says, you calling about the project? I go, no, actually I'm not. I just want to let you know I just got let go, and I can't help you anymore on this, but I wish you luck with it. He says, oh, let me call you right back. And he hung up, and I've never heard from him to this day because I didn't have anything to offer him. Okay?
How do you interpret that?
Okay. Well, that's the way he is.
I think that's how a lot of people are.
A lot of people are. You know, I've been...
what's in it for me?
You know...
And navigating that is...
I don't know if I have, you know, a blessing of some sort, but I've worked for many people who have been defined as difficult or tough, and not one of them has been that way to me, ever. I worked for bosses who my friends would warn me, oh, you're not going to like it there. He's a killer.
Yeah.
He's nasty. Never have I experienced that. The toughest people in town have always found a sweet spot for me. And I'll tell you why. I'm going back to that word. It's my favorite word, passion.
Yeah.
They knew that I wasn't just doing a job. that I believed in it. I was committed to it. I was dedicated to it. It was my life, not just my job. And it's really hard. It's not impossible, but it's really hard to abuse people who care that much. It's happened to me. You know, the guy who said, I don't like that you don't intimidate your staff. He had no problem getting rid of me. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard to fire somebody who believes so passionately about what they do.
Yeah. Do you think you were likable also?
Was I likable?
Yeah. Did you come off that way?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a goofball sometimes, and sometimes it's worked in my favor, and sometimes.
We want to know the secret sauce.
Well,
Bob. A lot of people are like, hey, I want to be able to do that.
It's authenticity.
It's authenticity. Yes.
Look, if I'm a goofball and it hasn't always worked in my favor, sometimes it's hurt my corporate trajectory.
Yeah.
But that's who I am.
Yeah.
You know, and never try to offend anyone. In today's world, you can offend someone much more easily, but I've never tried to offend anyone that I can remember. And, you know, either they appreciate me or they don't appreciate me, but they can't knock me down. You just can't knock me down because I love this too much. And that's the passion that I hold dearly for what I do. So you can fire me. You can fire me from my dream job. It happened twice. Okay. But you can't kick me out of the business because I'm going to find my way back in. And I'm still 60 years after that day I went to Password doing what I love. It's been over 60 years. So,
wow.
You know, go for it. Wow. Try to knock me down. I'm going to get back up.
Oh,
you know,
that attitude, you can conquer the world.
You know, I have an acronym that I share with my students. I wanted to have an acronym. I always thought
acronyms are
teachers
cool.
have acronyms. I got to come up with one. And the first couple of years I didn't have one. And then I put my mind to this, and I thought of all the words that inspire me. And I wanted to find a word that incorporated all those first letters. And what I came up with is PRIMP. And I tell my students, I say it the first night of class, and I remind them the last night of class every semester. I said, you all have a social life, and you go out on dates, you go to clubs, you go to bars, you go to restaurants, you hang out with friends, whatever you do. And before you go out, what do? You PRIMP. Make sure the hair's in the right place. Mm-hmm. You make sure you button those collar buttons. You've made sure that everything is pressed and ironed and that you're not wearing socks with holes in them, or whatever it is. Whatever your way of primping is, you PRIMP. You may not think of it, but you do. I said, I'm going to show you how to PRIMP for your career in television or in media. And the first P is patience, okay? Things just don't ever happen, especially to millennials and Gen Zs, as fast as you want them to. Well, you want something to happen tomorrow. Yeah. It probably won't. It'll happen.
I've experienced that.
Right? Mm-hmm. I had a guy who worked for me at a network, and on my third day on the job, he came to me, he said, I want a promotion. I said, I just met you. I don't know your work, and I'm happy to advocate for you if I can, but can we work together for a little longer? Mm-hmm. He said, well, no, I'm due a promotion, and if you can't do that for me, then I'm going to be looking around. This is my third day. Okay. I said, you go look, because I don't want that attitude.
He's giving you an ultimatum.
Entitlement doesn't do it for me.
Absolutely not.
You know?
And the younger generation.
And there's some of that. It's rampant in your generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm a millennial, so we're a little bit better.
Yeah, a little. But I don't have any tolerance for entitlement. It's like we are all pushing the same rock up the same hill. Yeah. So don't tell me you can push it farther than I can. You might be smarter, you might be stronger, you might be more talented, but we're pushing that rock up together. And the only way we're going to get to the top is together. So when this guy said this to me, I'm like, you go away. And he did. He found something else. It didn't last very long, by the way. So patience is the P. The R is resilience, okay? Like I just said, you can knock me down, but you can't knock me out. I'm going to come back. I'm going to find my way.
Yeah.
The I is integrity, okay?
So important.
An often lost value in today's media landscape, okay? You have to be the most trustworthy person in the room. You have to be the person who people are going to want to believe in and to work with and have faith in. The M is modesty, okay? Very simple. Be a nice person, okay? I tell my students, you're not going to get your first job because you're good at what they need you to be. You're going to get it because they like you. And if you come in and you make a good impression and they want to spend time with you because they spend more time with their coworkers than they do with their family, you're going to get the job. So just be likable. Just be somebody who people want to be around. And then the last P, you could probably figure it out, is passion. And it all comes back to that for me. Everything, all the other letters wrap up into passion. And if you're passionate, you'll be patient. If you're passionate, you'll be resilient. If you're passionate, you'll have integrity. If you're passionate, you'll be modest. And if you're passionate, you will succeed.
I love it.
And you may not know where you're going. You may not know till you get there. I'm lucky. I knew at 6 what I wanted to do. And I was able to, my parents were nurses. They were not in television. They had no understanding of what I did. They didn't get why I loved it, but they allowed me to chase my dream.
Wow, you're fortunate.
They believed in me. They didn't think this was anything, but they knew that I wasn't going to give up on it. And if you believe in yourself, you don't have to have that knowledge at 6 or even at 26 or even at 56 what you want to be. But when you get there, you'll know that's where were meant to go. And then it all starts. And mine started at 6, and I've had 60 years of it since. And as far as I know, I'm still producing a game show, unless something happened in the last hour. And that's what I am here for.
Yeah.
That's my gift to the world. And that's my legacy. I'm the co-founder of the National Archives of Game Show History, which is at a wonderful museum in Rochester, New York, called the Museum of Play, the Strong Museum of Play. And I am dedicated to preserving the history of game shows and the legacy of game shows for future generations, whether it's academics or researchers or fans. I want everything that I've learned, everything that I've collected, and it's a lot, to ultimately be in this museum to allow future generations to benefit from my work and my passion. And, that's what I'm all about.
Oh, wow. I just have to say, I have to go back to PRIMP, the acronym PRIMP. Is it written down anywhere? Do you have any resources, any books, or anything people can refer to so that they can remind themselves about this?
Well, take a pen and write down PRIMP. I mean,
you got to write a book about this, Bob. This is a book waiting to happen. Another book.
Is there a book called PRIMP? I should check that out. I thank you. Now you've sparked an idea.
Yeah.
And now it's going to dominate my drive home. Thank you. When Dr. Rob said to me, I want to write a book with you, and he had already written several books.
I have read
You've interviewed him about them on your show. I never wanted to write a book. It wasn't on a bucket list. It wasn't something I ever really thought about. But I really liked him. I just trusted him.
Yeah.
He just seemed like a guy I want to be a partner with.
Yeah.
And I knew he knew about writing books. I knew nothing about it. I only know a tiny bit now, and I learned it all from him. But I knew that we would get along. I knew that whatever we came up with would be driven by our passions and our camaraderie, and I couldn't be happier with that partnership.
Yeah.
But I don't need to be famous. I don't want to write books. I don't want people. I don't need people to care about what I've accomplished. I just want to leave them whatever the vestiges of that, so that they can find their own success and their own passion. And very few of them are going to have the same passion I do. It's a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche.
Yeah.
To love game shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I probably know most of the people who love it, and nobody could possibly love it as much as I do. I'll stand for that. But whatever it is you love, it could be cooking, it could be sports, it could be politics, it could be religion, it could be music. Whatever it is, think about who you are, what your purpose is in life, what you were put on this earth to do, and just follow that. Sometimes you'll follow it with a pathway that's well defined. Sometimes you'll just blindly follow it. You're in a room and you don't know where to turn, but you're heading toward that goal somehow. And I tell this to my students. I said, you might know where you want to go. You don't know how you're going to get there. And you're going to take twists and turns. And sometimes they'll come to me and they'll say, well, I have a job offer to do this, but this is not what I want to do. I said, take the job. Okay, because you will learn something valuable from that job that you will bring to your next job and the job after that, and ultimately to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And don't ever turn down a good opportunity because it isn't exactly how you see yourself, because you don't know where this is going to lead you. Okay, I didn't know that asking Lucille Ball a question would get me a job in the business that I wanted to be in.
Yeah.
I had no idea how I would break in.
Yeah.
I just knew I was going to go to tapings of shows until somebody cared.
Yeah.
And here's a guy who cared.
Yeah.
Sooner than
That's
I
serendipity, right? You're putting yourself in places where that can happen.
Yeah, right place, right time.
Right place.
Luck is the I didn't make this up. It's the intersection of opportunity and preparation.
Yeah.
And I prepared, and then I was in Hamilton, the room where it happens.
Yes.
Go to the room where it happens.
Yeah.
Someone say to me, I just moved to LA. I want to work in television. How do I get a job? I said, don't think about getting a job. Think about networking and going to places where people might want to hire you. That's how you'll get a job. It's not applying on a portal with 8,000 other people and having your resume read by a bot. That's not how you're going to get a job.
Yeah.
You're going to get a job by impressing somebody, being
Making
nice,
connections,
right?
Yeah.
Knowing your stuff,
Yeah.
right? And I said, go to tapings of shows. You're in Los Angeles, for God's sake. There's 3 shows taping every day.
Yeah.
Just be in the room where it happens.
Right.
It's not going to magically appear for you, but would you rather not be there and not be exposed to a possible opportunity? And the audience companies have me to thank for many, many people who go to tapings all the time.
I did actually 2 days ago. I went to Jimmy Kimmel.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love going to that show.
Yeah.
I love going. I went year before last. I haven't counted this year, but last year I went to 36 different shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you're thinking, are there even 36 different shows to go to? Yes.
Yeah.
Some are in New York.
Okay.
9 of them were in New York.
Okay.
27 here.
Yeah.
But
So-
and it's not about the numbers. It's
Yeah.
about I'm in the room where it happens. And I don't need a job. I have a wonderful job. I'm so fortunate. I don't take it for granted. I'm an old guy in Hollywood who's still working. Okay. I stopped dyeing my hair 2 years ago. Okay. I'm not pretending I'm young. I never could, but I'm not. There's no artifice about, you can't hide how old you are anyway today. Everybody's got your birth records.
You can if you have a good plastic surgeon.
I guess, but your birth date is still somewhere on the web.
That's true. Your
And
chronological age
right.
cannot be.
So I'm not pretending anymore, and I know that my best career days are behind me, but I got a lot left. I got a lot of, I drive an electric car, so I won't say I have gas left in the engine, but I do have a charge left in the engine, and I'm still going. And, I will never stop loving this, and I'll always find a way to do it. And I wish that for everybody. I really do. And the book, so the Creative Leader, I think is a tool that if you find it and you're inspired by it, it really can help you guide your career choices. And I really hope, be happy about what you do.
Yeah. Bob, one last question before we end this conversation. I mean, obviously you're a creative genius. I mean, you have worked on over 100 shows across primetime, daytime, late night, and children's programming. So please share with us, what is your creative process like?
I wake up very early, no later than 6 o'clock. Dr. Rob has me beat. He gets up at 4 o'clock, sometimes earlier. So I can't pretend that I'm an early riser when I'm in his presence, but never later than 6.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of TV, okay? It's like, well, who doesn't watch a lot of TV? That's not special. But I watch it with a critical eye. My license plate says TV Bob, okay? That's a nickname I got in college because it's all I cared about was watching TV. And I watch every episode of select shows that I love, mostly game shows and reality competition. I love that too. And I work, obviously, but any moment that I'm near a television that I'm not otherwise engaged or having it on in the background, there's something on that screen that inspires me creatively. My wife will say that I'm really annoying to watch a game show with because I'm doing a play-by-play. And I'm criticizing the questions and the lighting and the music and the sound effects. And she really doesn't enjoy watching game shows with me because she wants to watch the game show.
She wants to be entertained.
She wants to just watch it and enjoy it. I have to critique it.
Yeah.
And when I go to these shows, other people's shows, and I'm sitting in the audience, my blood pressure sometimes rises because I want to give notes and I want to say, oh, that's not the way you should have done it. But it's not my place and I don't do it. But I always watch what's new. I always understand as best I can how it was made, how it was put together. Mm-hmm. I will very often track down people who produced it or created it and ask them the questions that I don't know.
Curiosity.
That helps me get better at my work. There's other shows that are similar to ours, and I watch them, and I think, I wonder how they do that, because that looks a little different from the way we do it. And I ask them, and they tell me, and sometimes I can integrate a process into my work that I learned from how someone else does it. And, I'm past retirement age, but I never, ever stop learning. That's my creative process, is never stop learning. Always look for tips, information, new ways to do things, innovations, reimagining what's been done. And as much as I am dedicated to classic game shows, and when they do a revival of a show, I want that same music that it had in the 60s, okay? And I want the same shag carpet, but I also want it to feel contemporary.
Yeah.
And I want to know how they accomplish that, and I want to use it in what I do. That's my creative process.
Thank you so much, Bob. I mean, I consider myself a creative person, and I write books, I'm a podcaster, and listening to you has just been extraordinary for me. And I'm already getting so many ideas popping up in my head when thinking about the next book that I'm going to write. So thank you so much. For me personally, this has been amazing talking to you.
Thank you. Now you're making me think about writing another book.
Go for it.
I wasn't going to do it.
There's a book in you waiting to be birthed.
The experience with Dr. Rob on The Creative Leader has been so incredibly rewarding that I'll think about it.
Yeah. And I appreciate the passion, the sincerity, and the energy you brought to this conversation. And I'm sure our listeners are going to love this episode. It's just been wonderful.
Great. Now I'm going to go get some food.
Yes, you do that.
To inspire me for the rest of the day.
Yes, you do that.
All right.
All right. And I just want to let our listeners know if this conversation has sparked you and you want to learn more about the book that Dr. Rob Carpenter and Bob Boden has written. The title is The Creative Leader, What Every Leader Should Know About the Art and Science of Creative Intelligence. You can find it wherever books are sold.
And thanks for playing.